So today we're talking about Pinterest. And Pinterest is an app just like most of the other apps that we've talked about over time. But Pinterest is, the name comes from, and it took me a second to realize this, but it's like pinning your interests. It's like if you had a bulletin board and you were putting up little ideas for each of your interests. So it could be something, these are projects that I want to sew, or these are recipes that I might want to try. And it's just a big sort of like area where you can find these ideas. So there's tons of people on there putting their own ideas on there, and you can go through and pin or save the ones that you like or the ones that you're interested in. When we're looking for apps, I'm going to take you to the Play Store. Again, if you're on an iPhone, it's going to be your app store. So go ahead and click on the Play Store, and we're going to look up Pinterest. So it's just interest with a P at the beginning. Pinterest. And you'll see it shows up there at the top. So we're going to hit that to search. And you'll see the app, the image on the app looks like that little P in the red circle. Okay. So if you haven't downloaded it before, it's going to say download here. When you download it and then open it, again, it looks like this. It's this one up here. I just want to show you what the sign up screens are going to look like. So it's going to say, welcome to Pinterest. And you can put in your email address and a password. It's easiest though, if you have a Google account or a Facebook account, to just connect with your Google or Facebook account. So you won't have to enter the password in the same way. It'll just sort of connect through the Google account that's logged in on your phone. But you can make an email address and password too, that's fine. Either of those ways work, or the Facebook page. If your Facebook is logged in on your phone, you can just do it. You can just say continue with Facebook and it will go straight to the app. It's not going to Facebook, it's going to Pinterest. So you'll do that. Once you choose a way to log in, it's going to ask you how old you are. And that's just so it can sort of figure out what your interest might be. It's going to ask you also your gender. I didn't take a picture of that one. Again, that's to sort of target your interest, and you can not answer that. You cannot, I think you cannot answer some of these in general. You do want to say you're in the United States, because it's going to target things to you, like the things that it's showing you by maybe language, or by like, I know there's a thing with knitting that the terms they use in the US are different than the terms they use in maybe like the UK or Australia. So they might sort of prioritize things that are in the US terminology. So that can be helpful. And then it's going to say, welcome to Pinterest. So you will get an email to confirm your email, but you can go ahead and get started on Pinterest before you confirm your email. Just eventually make sure you go in and hit that confirm your email so they know that they've got the right address for you. Okay, so we're going to go into the Pinterest app itself. So the way you sign up for that, once you've done this, you're in Pinterest. It's relatively similar to signing up for any other app. So let's look at Pinterest. So for right now, what I'm going to do is show you, I made a Pinterest account with our Tech Talk email address. So this is going to be a completely blank Pinterest account. It's new. So I want to show you what you'll see when you start a Pinterest account. And then after we look at that, we can poke around in my Pinterest account a little bit and see what it looks like once you have, a lot of things saved on there. And this will make more sense as we go in here. Okay, so let's look at like the first screens you'll see when you get the Pinterest app. Okay, so here we are. All right, so we've done all that stuff. We've logged in, we've made our account. This is the first thing it's going to ask you. So it's going to say, pick 5 or more topics you're interested in. So we're going to choose a couple of these. And what this does is it's sort of telling Pinterest what kinds of things you want to see. So if you are really into, let's say, DIY and crafts, so DIYs, do it yourself, and crafts, we're going to say that. Let's say DIY and crafts, maybe healthy recipes, maybe home decor, and art. Okay, so that's 5. You can do more than 5. You can do as many as you want. But this just gives you Pinterest the app a real initial idea of the kinds of things that you're interested in. So it'll tailor what it shows you to those interests. So we're going to say next once we've got all of those checked off. All right. And then you can follow specific creators. These are just like, it's almost like on Instagram or something. These are people that have their own sort of videos and stuff that they do. I'll just follow maybe eating well. I don't really know what it is, but that's the fun. You get to find out. Okay, I'm going to say done. So now they're customizing our feed. All right. Okay, so this is what it's giving us. So this is what your sort of all the sort of idea, how the ideas will come up on here. And you see it's almost sort of like bulletin boards or a pin board. But then you make your own out of the ones that you like. So let's see what we got here. It's all sorts of different things. So we have this like how to transfer a picture to a wood ornament. We have this sort of basket making thing. We have, it's given us a lot of craft stuff. So we have this thing that shows us how to make, like, it's almost like a macrame thing that goes around a jar. It shows you how to make cards, like pop-up cards, and how to do, I've seen this one before. This is one I've seen, how to do like, you know, kind of fancy, like labels on a package. So you can say visit. And if you hit visit, it'll take you to like the video itself. So this is sort of showing you how to like address a package in a cute way. There's all sorts of things on here, okay, so that they've pulled from your interests. If you are scrolling through here and you feel like you've looked at a lot of things and you haven't quite seen what you want, what you can do always is just reload the page. And you do that just by swiping down fast, you know, like you would reload anything on your phone. So you just go whoop, and it'll give you a whole other set of things. All right. So this is a really good thing if you're just sort of like looking for ideas for something. It's like, oh, I don't really see what I want. Let me scroll down one more time and I'll just reload and give you some more ideas. And the other thing about it too is as you click on things and as you save things, which I'll show you how to do in just a second, or pin things, Pinterest will learn what sorts of things you're more interested in. So those initial sort of 5 categories you have, it'll get fine-tuned as you go. So if you like a whole bunch of things about, we'll see this on mine, like if you like a whole bunch of things about knitting, then it'll start showing you a lot of stuff about knitting. It'll sort of learn what kind of things you're interested in. It can be really helpful because it'll give you ideas that you never even knew you were looking for. So let's try, we're going to try and pin something, okay? And when we pin something, we're saving it on our own board, all right? So like, let's say I want to have a board that's all about knitting, okay? I would save all my knitting pins to that board. But let's use one of these as an idea. So let's say, so this one, that's the Gothic alphabet. Let's say we want to do calligraphy, all right? So if we want to save this because we want to reference it later on, or we want to look at it, we're going to click and hold on that, all right? You see that? Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. So I've clicked down with my finger on this specific pin, the Gothic type, all right, and I'm holding it down. And it gives me a couple of options there. The one that I want to use right now is that pin. So just think of Pinterest and the pin. So it's the one to the left. So what I'm going to do is hold down and then I'm going to pin it. So I just touched the pin one and it lights up like that. So I'm going to say pin. For right now, it says it's saved to my profile. All right, but I want to go in here and I want to make a board that's going to be all about, there we go, about calligraphy. Okay, so in order to make a board, we're going to go down to where that button was that says create. Okay, so this little plus sign. So I'm going to say create. And I'm going to say create a board. All right, the board I'm going to make is going to be called calligraphy. All right, say next. And then look, it gives me a whole bunch of other ideas about calligraphy as well. All right, so I can say, oh, I like this one right here. I'm going to add this one, add that plus sign to add it to my board. And I also am into this other form of Gothic calligraphy right here. I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to say done. All right, so here's my calligraphy board, and I've got those 2 pins on there. The other thing I want to do, though, I'm going to go back, and it says unorganized ideas. It has this Gothic alphabet one that I pinned before. I want to make sure that goes in there too. All right, so I'm going to say pin, and I'm going to save it to calligraphy. All right, so that organizes all of my ideas into one place. And then if I go back here, now I'll have 3 pins in there. And then I can just keep adding to that. So when I'm ready to do my calligraphy and I'm looking for inspiration, I just go into my board, and I'll show you how to get there from the main screen. So if we go back, we're going to go to home is always where you have this screen that's just like, you know, all the things that Pinterest is thinking you'd be interested in. But if you go to here where that person is and it says saved, then you can see your own boards. And let's say I want to make another board that's about healthy recipes. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to say next. And again, it's going to give me all these ideas. And remember too, that this app, just like anything, if there's medical or nutrition advice, you need to double check where it's coming from, just to make sure. You know, we want to look at some easy one-pan pasta. We're going to add that to our list. That looks pretty healthy. It's got vegetables. Use some whole wheat pasta. We're going to look at some edamame peanut crunch kale salad. We're going to add that on there too. So we're going to say done. And look, we go to our healthy recipes board. We've got our 2 healthy recipes on there. So it's almost like a recipe book at that point. You can save things on there. So to get to the recipe itself, we're going to go on here and we're going to say make it. And that'll take you to a website that has the recipe. And we're going to click on this thing that says jump to recipe, because sometimes they give you a whole lot of preamble to the recipe itself. So then you got your recipe there and you can make it. I'm going to show you my Pinterest. I'm going to log out of this new Pinterest account and show you what mine looks like. So I'm going to say settings. I'm going to go to settings and just say log out so I can get on my other account. Okay, so this is mine. This is mine that already has stuff set up on it. So you'll see it's feeding me all sorts of ideas. A lot of them are knitting. Like I said, I've been looking at knitting recently, and it'll show you these. It's showing me some recipes because I've been looking that up too. It also gives you targeted ads like the Sephora thing. It's just like any free app, it's going to give you ads along the way. So just be aware of that too. And another thing you can do, well, actually, let me show you my boards first, and then I'll show you this. So I'm going to click down here where if you can see, it's really small on your screen, but there's a picture of me down at the bottom here. That's my little icon. And I'm going to click on that. And there's going to show me all of my boards with pins. All right. So let's see. My knitting one is the biggest one right now. There's a food one too. So what it's going to say, so I can go to a board that's every single one of my pins, but if I just want to look at knitting, I'm going to click on that knitting one that I've put 134 pins into. So you see, if I go down, looking at making Christmas stockings, trying to make some gloves, mittens. So these are all the things I've saved. So whenever I'm looking for a new sort of knitting project, I can just go back in here and say, oh, these were the things I was interested in. So you can click on these things, and some of these are free patterns. Some of these are things that you have to pay for. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to pay for some of these patterns, but you can find tons of stuff for free too. So just look around, poke around, and you can even look up, I'll show you in the main screen, when you're searching, you go down to this magnifying glass. You can say free knitting patterns, okay? And if you click on that, it should filter out the ones that cost money, okay? Let's try something else. Say Halloween decorating DIY, do it yourself. So here, this will give you some ideas for doing Halloween decorations on your own. So using different supplies, this bottle here, painting it black. So just, I mean, like you can play around in here and find all sorts of different things. One thing that it's really good for in terms of things that are free, I think, is recipes. The recipes are generally always free. So like, let's see, let's say autumn soup recipe. So we have like pumpkin soup, we have squash soup, we have borscht, all sorts of different things in here. So let's say, you know, oh, that looks good. I like that. This soup, I'm going to go ahead and pin it. And for me, I've got food, and then I've got food broken down into these different categories too. So I would put it in soup because I like soup, and I got a lot of soup recipes in there. So that's just kind of how you get started with Pinterest. It's one of those things when you get in there and start playing around with it, it makes a lot of sense. But it's a great place for finding inspiration. I use it for all sorts of things. I use it for when I do programming for Smart Youth. I save all sorts of things on there. I do, like I said, recipes. I have put, like, I have a board on there that's about like hair, like haircuts, you know, like about clothes, you know, just random stuff like that. And you can also add your own pin, which is actually not something that I do that often. I'm more like getting the information as opposed to adding in. If you wanted to add a pin, you would go to, let's say you could go to your own board and add plus, and you could make your own pin from your pictures. Okay. We're going to say autumn soup recipe. We're just going to search that on the internet instead. All right. So let's say, you know, we weren't on Pinterest at the time, but we found this recipe that we really want to try. Okay. I don't know anything about this, so I can't tell you if it's healthy or anything. I just clicked on the first thing. So, okay. So what you're going to do is you can go here, and you see right here, there's a Pinterest, there's a P right there. So generally, especially with recipes and things like this, they will have a way for you to pin it directly on there. So look for that logo that says P. All right. Recipes know that Pinterest is, like, people that make recipes, people that do sort of art or craft instructions, they know that Pinterest is a place where people go to look for these things. So they'll generally have a link to their Pinterest there. Okay. So if I click on that, it'll say save to board. And what that's going to do is save this particular pin to whatever one of these boards I want it to be in. So I'm going to go to food. And again, I'm going to go to soup. All right. So if we go there, we'll see. Go to my soups. That was just saved in my soup section. So now I have that. So that's one of the coolest features here, is that you can just be on the internet, you know, poking around, looking at things, and then save that to Pinterest. Instead of having like a million bookmarks on your phone or something, or being like, where did I leave that recipe? It's like you've stuck it in your little recipe catalog, or your list of patterns to sew later, or something like that. So it's all in one place. Let me try that. I'm going to do that one more time. So let's say Halloween decorations, DIY. And again, this is just on the internet. This is just me searching the internet for something. So we're going to go to this thing that says 75 easy Halloween decorations. And we should see a little, look, see that little Pinterest. Once you start looking for it, you're going to see it everywhere. All right. So we're going to click on that P. We're going to put that into, I don't really have a thing for this, so we're just going to put it into interesting pictures. So we go to interesting pictures. There we go. So interesting pictures, we'll go in there and we can click on that. Again, if you're at all crafty, at all into cooking, this is a really good one to have. So I really encourage you to check it out and just play around with it. And you can't mess anything up on there, you know, like if you end up pinning something that you don't want, I'll show you, you can delete a pin. So let's say I pinned that and I decide I don't want it. I'm going to go to this one. I click down on it again. I'm going to go to that one that's a pencil, and I can just say delete this pin and get rid of it. It's fine. So, you know, it's a low risk activity. Just make some boards and see what you find, okay?